Welcome to my tutorial for Hammerin 2 for the NES. And yeah, this is a Japanese only game. This was I have the Japanese title in the title of the video, but it's probably better if I don't try to pronounce it. But yeah, this game took me around 1 hour and 51 minutes to beat. It's not really too difficult, but the controls can be kind of floaty and the scrolling can be kind of choppy. So, sometimes that can definitely, get you some more deaths. But yeah, it's a good, solid game overall. Definitely would recommend playing through it. It's worth playing through at least once. There are checkpoints in the levels, and you have unlimited continues. But I believe if you use a continue, you'll be sent back to the beginning of the stage that you were on. Now, if you get to any of the bosses, then you'll always start from the boss. Even if you lose full continues, you'll still start at the boss. So it's very forgiving with that. There is some kind of cheap, bullshitty trial and error type of parts, especially towards the end with the platforms. That's the hardest part of the game, but I'll try to break that down at the end. For this first boss, just jump straight up and down and just keep mashing the hammer. You pretty much can damage him. You'll do more damage to him probably before he kills you. And you can just keep trying this again and again since you get checkpoints at all the bosses. So even if you mess up, it doesn't matter. I edited out all the deaths, so sometimes you'll see some transitions at the checkpoints in the levels. I try to edit it so it blends in, fairly smooth. Because otherwise I'd have to post, the full video. It'd be close to 2 hours. So I try to edit them down when they have unlimited continues like this game. But yeah, all you have to do here is ascend up and, just take out the guys that get in your way. You can't hit those projectiles that the enemies throw out, so just try to avoid them. The platforming control can be a little floaty, a little awkward. Sometimes I do extra jumps I don't want to do because, it's not always the most responsive, and there's definitely some slowdown in the game. But I still enjoyed the game overall. I thought it was pretty solid, pretty good game. Pretty much all the Hammer and Harry games are good, solid games. I enjoyed the one on PSP, which I beat recently. I think I've played through all of them now, unless there's one on another console that I'm not aware of, but I believe I've beaten them all for arcade and console at this point. I somehow missed this one. For some reason, I never beat this one. Maybe I didn't know about it. I try to go on Google and look them all up and hunt them all down when I'm trying to take out a series. But maybe I tried this and I didn't follow through. Now this guy gave me a lot of trouble, and it wasn't because he was difficult to dodge. It was because I had a hell of a time trying to hit this guy with the wrecking ball. My main issue was that I would waste, the 3-minute timer or whatever it is, and I'd just run out of time before I could hit him 4 or 5 times. I believe you have to hit him about 4 or 5 times, maybe 5, with the wrecking ball, and you'll defeat him. But almost every time I hit the wrecking ball, it flies off at an angle, and I couldn't figure out how to consistently hit it so that it goes straight. I'm guessing you probably have to try to hit the ball in the center for it to go straight, but every time I hit it, it would usually go off on an angle. So it takes me a long-ass time to finally get this. I mean, I may have spent like 10 or 20 minutes just on this boss before I was able to beat it. So, but the good news is you can try this, an infinite amount of times, since if you waste a continue, you will start at any of the bosses. Even the final boss. Luckily, the final boss is extremely easy. So if you get to the final boss, you'll beat the game for sure. But yeah, you want to try to line it up to get those straight shots. But I don't really have any good tips on how to do that consistently because it was giving me a lot of trouble till the end. And this is just my playthrough, so there's really no refinement here beyond what I needed to do to beat the game. These are all my first attempts that made it through. My first time beating the game. Yeah, you want those straight shots like that, those straight horizontal shots. Another thing you can do is try to hit the wrecking ball at the bottom when it comes close to the floor, and try to angle it up towards the boss. I have hit him like that before, but I found that a lot harder to do than hitting it horizontally straight towards his head like that, or maybe his balls that time. But yeah, you get the idea. So I recommend going with those straight shots, but then again, I'm not really the one to take advice for on this fucking boss fight. And then after he swings the wrecking ball at you, wait for him to throw the dynamite and then run under. Because if you just run right away, there'll be a bunch of dynamite on your ass when you get to the end. It'll be harder to dodge. But it's very easy. I mean, it's super easy to dodge that guy and hit the wrecking ball. It's hard to line up those straight shots in the amount of time you have. I'm sure if I practiced it more, I could get more consistent, but I just did whatever I needed to win. Now you can participate in these bonus stages if you want and try to hit everybody except your girlfriend. It's this game frowns upon you beating your girlfriend to death with a hammer. So for whatever reason, you're not supposed to do that. So, but that doesn't mean you can't. Just because a game, doesn't want you to do it, I wouldn't say that you shouldn't do it. I would just say that it's up to you. It's up to the player to decide. Player-driven choice. Choose your own fucking adventure. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it for those two stages. So yeah, this stage it's nothing hard or anything. It has a checkpoint in the middle of it, like most stages do. Some stages don't seem to have checkpoints, but most of them do have at least one. Until you lose your continue. Once you lose a full continue, I think it'll send you back to the beginning of the stage most of the time. You can kind of just sloppily charge into these guys and just try to hit them with your hammer, or you can wait for them to face the other way and just hit them in the back. That's probably what you're supposed to do. I also took the wrong route here, so I had to walk through the lava. It didn't come to me how I could get across that lava without taking a little dip, a little swim. So eventually I gave in. But yeah, around this point, I believe, is a checkpoint. So if you made it that far, it's pretty fucking easy to get to at least that point. So you should at least get the checkpoint. Actually, this is the checkpoint right here. Yeah, this part's the checkpoint. I saw the edit just now. But yeah, so if you get here, then you can die and get all your life back, all your health back, and then just beat this other half. And of course, once you get to the boss, that's another checkpoint. So you can permanently start at the bosses. So you're not going to have too much trouble getting through this level eventually. If you do find it difficult, it probably won't take you too long. Now, there was a few bosses that I beat on the first try, maybe 3 boss fights. So those are really unrefined because I had no practice. But I did watch a video playthrough by Corn Shack before I actually played the game. A lot of times I'll watch video playthroughs and shit like that. And it'll definitely give me an idea of what to expect before I get to something. I usually just watch them for a mixture of entertainment and to see if I want to work on the game, and then I kind of know what to expect as well. I will do that with some games. A lot of games are just random, but yeah, with this guy, stand at the edge of the elephant's eyeball, hit him twice in his chest when he jumps at you, then jump over his head, hit him once in the back, and then descend down and go under the elephant so that you can avoid all the shit that he's shooting right there. Those pink lasers right there, like those groups. Yeah, so hit him twice in the chest, jump over. If you can, try to hit him once in the back, but if you can't get that shot in the back after you jump over his head, then just keep moving. Don't worry about trying to get an extra hit. I mean, if you want to play it really safe, just hit him once or twice and then jump over his head. But if you do it well enough, you can get two hits in the front, then jump over his head, hit him once in the back. If you want to get a good amount of hits, and you can do that. Quite easy. I mean, once you have that pattern down, it's hard if you don't know what to do on it. But I mean, I figured it out pretty fast. So yeah, and you get to start at him an infinite amount of times. This level is also very easy. The stage itself. I think the boss is extremely easy as well, but there's no checkpoint on this train level. but you won't need one because it's just very easy. If you kind of wait at the base of the robot's feet and then wait for them to shoot, you can then jump over the foot and just continue moving. You just don't want to get trapped by the screen. But aside from that, you have to lure them out to shoot, I think, by getting within a certain range of them. It seems that way anyway, so try to get them to fire before you make your movements over them. Yeah, this boss is extremely easy. I beat it the first time I got to it, so I really don't have any tips on how to play it extremely well or anything. But all you got to do is jump up and just keep rapidly tapping your hammer and just hammer the shit out of them. If you fall in the water, you will take one hit of health, but you won't instantly die. Which is fine anyway, because you can just get back up. And by the second, you should be able to get them within the second round of hits. So, very, very easy. So now we got a little bonus stage going on. I believe you'll get certain items like a hard hat, which I think might give you an extra hit that you can take and shit like that. But, I mean, for the most part, this game is so easy, you're not going to need any of this. Though the final stage is quite difficult, so I mean that's there's some difficult platforms. It's not extreme or anything. If you know what to do, it's fairly easy. But it was a little tricky for me to figure out which platforms to go on. I didn't really study the videos. When I watched the playthrough, I just kind of watched it once and checked it a few times. But it gives me somewhat of a rough idea. So yeah, this stage can be tough. What you want to do is wait for the bullets to fire and then make your jump. So don't rush it. If you try to jump, and then they fire at you and hit you, the knockback is extreme in this game. So if you get knocked back, you go really far. Now here, try to squeeze when you duck to squeeze through. Notice how it shot me off to the right. It's really bizarre. It'll shoot you off into the pit, which makes no sense. So you want to kind of hold left as you're going under that ceiling and crouching to counteract that. And when you play it, you'll probably know what I mean. But yeah, always wait for the bullets first, because if you do get hit by them, they really knock you really far. The area below you is not a floor you can stand on, even though it looks like it. It's a death pit, so just be aware of that. I believe there's one checkpoint in this level aside from the boss. So yeah, if you go fast through here, you don't really have to stop much and wait for the enemies and all. I mean, I shouldn't have taken that one hit. That was kind of sloppy. But for the most part, you can kind of run through here if you pause briefly and just keep moving. If you don't do it like this, then there will be a lot of enemies that you have to deal with as well, which makes it a lot harder. So I recommend just trying to move as fast as you can to the left and going under the hooks when you have the moment to do so. And for this part, keep in mind that the crushers will only hit you. They only crush when there's a plate below them. So if there's not a plate below them, they won't crush. And there's no holes in here. The gaps do not kill you if you fall in them, so you can go in those gaps. But I usually jump plate to plate. Also, the little gun thing on the ground doesn't hurt you if you touch it, which I didn't realize initially. That's why I was trying to hit it. But you can just ignore it. It'll only hurt you if the crusher crushes it and then it fragments into pieces. And then those pieces will hurt you. So yeah, very easy. Now for this guy, I got stuck for a while because I was stuck with the regular hammer. And I didn't realize I had to do a down crush attack. So what you have to do is, to do that down crush attack, that ground smasher, you have to jump in the air and then press down and strike, I believe. So keep doing that near him and you'll push him back into the crusher. And then he'll get crushed. And after you do that about 3 times, he dies. It's very easy once you know that. Now to avoid that debris, I like to stay all the way at the left edge of the screen mostly and make slight adjustments to my movement. I find it easier to dodge from that left extreme of the screen. I found that there seemed to be more safe spots over there, so I liked it in that area. So that may make things a little easier. But yeah, after he gets crushed 3 times, I believe that's it. So I actually got stuck on this for a while because I completely didn't realize that I had to do the down crushing attack, the ground smash attack. So I tried, smashing him in all these different ways, and I thought the game was basically untested. I thought there's no way to beat this with the regular hammer, because if you get to him with the large hammer and you die once, then you just have your regular small hammer when you continue. And I thought maybe there's no way to beat him with the small hammer, but it turns out I forgot about that little down attack. So that's all you need to do. Now this stage is very easy. It's a little bit long. It's super easy. You basically fight the same pair of enemies, probably like, I don't know, 10 or 20 times it seems. You just fight the same 2 women again and again. I recommend getting this straight shot that I have here because I think it's more useful for the boss coming up. So I recommend having that. You pick them up in the level, you'll see the icon. It matches the shape of the bullet. So I recommend getting this straight shot for this level. For a while, I almost thought the level was glitched, or maybe I was supposed to take a certain path somehow or something, because, it seems like the same thing over and over again with these 2 women. Probably has something to do with the sprite limitations of the system, but, there's been plenty of shooters on the NES that didn't only have 2 enemies. Your hitbox is a little bit weird since your character's awkward shaped and quite large. So it could be a little bit tight on the boss, but I think I may have beaten this boss on the first try as well, so I thought it was very easy. It may be a little bit harder, though. If you die, you may lose your power-up, so that could probably make it a little bit harder. But there's a lot of slowdown in the boss fight because of all the projectiles he fires, so that gives you a lot of time to move, and predict what he's going to do. So yeah, it's not too hard. Yeah, see, this shit is still going on, the same shit. Yeah, so now you're at the boss. So you have your checkpoint here. You can die as many times as you want. But yeah, all you really want to try to do is stay in the middle and hit him when he opens up in the middle. So try to keep in the middle as much as you can and try to just make slight adjustments to dodge the bullets and just channel all those shots into the middle. I was trying to play aggressively and not really drive around the area too much. Just try to kill him as fast as possible. I usually take the aggressive route, but I was able to get it my first try doing it that way. So it shouldn't give you too much trouble. So yeah, this is another little fucking boner stage, if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, you don't really have to do this shit. Now the next stage is the final stage. And this stage is tough. It's not too bad once you know what to do, but it's kind of tricky because the floaty jumping and the choppiness of the game kind of doesn't do it any favors near the end. So you're going to have to memorize this part. I believe this is... this is the semi-final stage. It's another shooter stage. This stage is not really difficult at all. There's only like one slightly challenging part at the end. I guess you could call it a boss. It's not really a boss, but it's a long... it's like you have to fight enemies for a while, and then after you kill a certain amount, I think it ends. They're just regular enemies for the most part. So yeah, for the boss that's coming up, you're going to want to have either this shot that I have, which I like this shot for the boss, because it goes it hits like, both diagonal angles. So it seemed pretty good for the boss fight. And you can also get the ground. There's also a shot that travels along the ground. That may be useful for the bugs as well, because you're going to fight a bunch of purple bugs. So it's probably, I think the ground one is good too. But the straight firing one is probably not going to be that useful, so I would just avoid that. I would get either the diagonal one or the one that goes along the ground. Because the stage itself is extremely easy. You wouldn't need any special weapons for this. I mean, there's barely any enemies, as you can see. Sometimes what's tricky is there's a lot of, glitchiness where shit disappears because there's so many sprites on screen. So sometimes you get hit by invisible shit. Which is, kind of a common thing with NES games. So yeah, your goal here is just to defeat all the purple bugs. I think if you kill a certain amount, you end it. So try to be aggressive with killing them, because the sooner you kill them all, the sooner it ends. At least that's how it seems. I don't think it's a timed event. So yeah, I kind of like staying in the middle and just making slight adjustments and constantly firing, trying to hit those purple things. I think there's actually 2 more stages. Yeah, I guess there's 9 stages. Yeah. This is the semifinal stage. Yeah. So this is a very easy stage. So I do mess up in the early bits, but I end up not getting hit for the rest of the stage. So it's very easy. Don't go up here and touch that beaker. You're not supposed to do that. So avoid doing that. Don't follow my lead on that. You only have to hit those bottom parts 3 times and then retreat and jump over the flame. And then you can walk under the table. Now, if you have the large hammer, which we're going to get soon, you can hit him just 1 time. And then retreat and jump. Very easy. See, 1 shot with the big hammer. So, now there's going to be some traps that you're going to have to just wait for. Super fucking easy. Just take your time. You wait for the lightning to retract back up and then move immediately. That's it. Very simple. Similar here. You just want to wait for these things to stop flashing and then jump on it, obviously. So just take your time with that. As soon as it stops flashing, jump on it and walk across. Get the little hard hat if you want it. I think you can take extra hit with that. And then we get to the end, we're going to have another fight that, it's kind of hard to classify as a boss fight. It's another enemy rush. So all you have to do here is face the side of the charging enemy and keep mashing the hammer button. Try to get close to them so they go right into your hammer. And just keep switching directions, alternating directions as you see me doing. I beat this the first time I got to it. This was another, I guess you say, boss fight that I beat the first time I got to it. Very, very easy. That's also why my level playing was probably kind of sloppy, because I don't think I had much practice on the levels. Oh, so yeah, now with this you have to memorize these platforms. This part is obviously easy, as you can tell, but there's parts where you have to have an idea of what you're doing. A lot of times you have to jump up on those red platforms immediately because the screen will scroll and you won't have a chance to go back up on the platform. It's like it gives you 1 chance when you can barely see the thing. So yeah, get on this middle diagonal platform and then get on that straight one and now jump up to this one immediately. It's kind of tricky to do, but once you get it down, you'll get it more consistently. But use save and load states to practice sections like that on an emulator. It gives you a much better chance of doing it when you get there. You can practice, each section that you need to practice. So you want to jump up immediately on these platforms as soon as you get to the top of the screen. Same with this. If you don't do those immediately, you will not have another chance to jump on them again. So there is a checkpoint down there, though, and then there's another checkpoint up here. So it is forgiving with that. For this, get on that platform, duck. Now, as soon as these platforms start going opposite, I actually did it a little different there, and I got through somehow. I don't know how the hell I did that, but I got lucky. There is a better way to do that. I should have probably edited my practice run into this for the tutorial version, so I could have shown a better way to do that. But there's definitely, I would say, practice with save and load state, that platforming part, to make sure you got it down, because that's the hardest part of the game if you don't know what to do. So definitely practice that. Now this guy is extremely easy. If you die on this boss, you will just start right at the boss, even if you waste a continue, as usual. So just all you do is kind of just point your hammer up and just keep tapping the button. So holding up and tapping the hammer constantly, it just beats the shit out of him, you know. Basically just jackhammering him to death. So very easy. It doesn't matter if you take some hits anyway, because you're going to get more hits in on him most likely. So you don't have to play carefully. And also the boss's body doesn't hurt you at all. So if you jump into him, it doesn't matter. You want to jump into him to get those hits. And yeah, extremely easy final boss. But yeah, that platforming can be very difficult. You know, with some of my tutorials, I actually edited them where I edited in my best runs from practice footage. Which if I was going to make this into more tutorial, I would do that. But I'm for this, I mostly just, you know, overlaid commentary over my playthrough that I already have up, which I do a lot of times. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.